Greetings, nerds. This is Cena Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fine. I
That's
didn't tell
good.
you, but we got our first snowfall,
Wow.
but
There
it
you,
didn't
yeah.
stick. It's too
It
warm.
is
It's
thick.
way too
Okay,
warm.
too warm. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
way too warm. My mom was freaking out about it. I'm like, Mom, yeah, it'll snow, but
Mhm.
it'll go away within a day, like
Yeah,
not within the hour.
yeah.
So it's we're not we're right now in what I like to call Juno weather because we've
Okay.
been experiencing rain for the
hmm
past 4 months.
hmm
And it's just been a lot of participation. But we are definitely, the degrees are dropping, hovering
Yeah.
around the
Okay.
40s right now. So it's between the 50s and 40s for winter. That's like where we would love to be. Because once it starts going down to your 30s and 20s, that's when, like, if snow falls, then it'll stay. And
Yeah.
then the temp just keeps going down. So,
Got it. Got it. Yeah, it's nice here, but yeah, I'm actually gonna be traveling this week, so I went to Wyoming, and last time, yeah, it's funny you mentioned like the weather as far as um early October snows because when I had so I'm working my way in around the Colorado, Idaho, now Wyoming spot, but I was in Idaho a few years ago about
mhm.
this time, and yeah, and it was gorgeous during the day. But then I was in Coeur d'Alene and it would snow at night. It was the wildest thing. So I was just like, okay, I'm not ready for this for coming from North Carolina, but yeah, but yeah, it's that time. I was looking forward to hearing your first snow report, and with given that it's October,
Yeah, but it doesn't count. It
it
doesn't count.
doesn't.
It doesn't count. It has to
Yeah,
stick. It has to stick,
yeah,
and we have to get like an inch or two.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Cool. Yeah,
but
but I
that
know.
leaves us, you
Go
know
ahead.
what?
What? No, I was gonna say yeah. I was just gonna say I know folks are probably like, is this a weather podcast or is this a superhero podcast?
Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. You know,
Yep.
we definitely have covered way more than just the superhero genre, but
For
we
sure.
do have we are gonna talk about Peacemaker season 2, episode 7, the penultimate episode of the season. Next week will be the finale. Like a Keith in the night, as Flag and Argus close in, the 11th Street kids attempt to keep the ever increasing dangers of the alternate world around them at bay. And yes, I will be commenting on the fact that this description is way more accurate than last
Yes.
week's. I have no idea who fell asleep while writing last week's episode description. My God, I'm still have PTSD while reading that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Will, I guess to kick things off with the conversation about this episode, what is something that stood out probably the most to you?
I think the thing that stood out most to me with this episode is everything is a matter of perspective with all these characters, especially
Hmm.
given that, and I know we'll get into a little bit deeper, but I think obviously the biggest one is just the as far as how these characters view their worlds. I mean, when you think about the comments that August had as far as Earth X, as far as when he met his doppelganger, and also when you think about what as far as the reactions with the vigilantes, as far as like thinking that your world is whenever he was hearing about Earth One, he thought, oh man, it must be utopia. But then, but when it gets to perspectives, I mean, one of the things we've talked about last week was just Adebayo and how she's sort of been I won't say pushed to the back like so much, but but I think this was really, this episode really did highlight a lot of her, and one of the things that she said in this episode was, getting to the point of perspective is, even though they think that Earth X and their home world are really far apart, in many ways they're very similar. So that's sort of my overarching, just sort of kick off the discussion as far as when I think about this episode.
Did Augie's speech at the end surprise you?
Yeah, I actually it did, because it surprised me in the sense that we because I think we even said it on the pod. I was like, yeah, he's probably going to be a Nazi, because they even said, like, last week, speaking about Avio, but if whenever he
Mhm.
encountered Economos in the kitchen, it was probably a good thing that she was not there, because given the given what we have seen, with these characters, their counterparts are very similar in a
Mhm.
lot of respects. And so whenever he did go there, basically he basically it's very clear that he is not a fan of the structure of Earth X in America, Earth X Nazi world. Whenever he gave that speech, I was just like, huh, okay. But I do have some deeper thoughts about it too, as far as, like, I know, yeah, he's not a Nazi, but at the same time, and he also, he has a very limited view of, as far as how much power he has to take over, to how to change things, which,
Yes.
yeah, which
Yeah.
I do have some thoughts about that, but I want to hear your thoughts about his speech and other things that were overall impressions
Oh,
of the
I
episode.
I mean, continue on your point. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, well, I was just thinking, on the one hand, he makes this great speech, and it was a great speech, no
right.
doubt about it. But at the same time, he may not be comfortable with, he may not like this world, but he definitely is very, doesn't want to rock the boat,
Mhm.
as
Yeah.
and very comfortable with what this world gives him, as far as, he has a very nice house, and
Mhm.
he's got two sons, and yeah, yeah, I'm fighting the monsters in front of me, but and yeah, I see the injustices all around and all that, but at the same time, he's not, he could, with Keith and Chris, his Chris, he really could have, like, use this as an opportunity to, like, start the change. And
Right.
because he could easily steer both of his boys to Sons of Liberty, who are actually, you know
Exactly.
yeah. So on the one hand, it was like, yeah, go Augie, and it really, I think part of his motivations was to just to, like, tell the Earth Wanderers to go back, because yes, it was, on the one hand, it was altruistic, but also too, again, about the perspective. He really thought they were the evil ones, because of his encounter with his doppelganger, whenever when he went into the quantum chamber. So he was just like, get out of here, because
Which honestly was a great line, because us knowing Earth One Augie, we can
Mhm,
totally understand how he would have that perspective based
yeah.
on that encounter. Like it wasn't far off base. Nothing was false about that.
Hmm.
So while you were looking at the speech and thinking about all of like the bigger world ramifications, I think what took me back was not necessarily, or surprised me, I should say, was not necessarily him not him trying to justify the fact that, no, I'm not in that camp, but I'm also not a son of liberty either. I do what
Yeah.
I do. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay. Was more about what Gunn did in terms of making the revelation that our Chris killed their Chris, and
Mhm.
his son is dead. And I wanted to explore that more because and I've said this in an earlier podcast about earlier episodes, is there's been so much emphasis, and now I kind of understand why, on Chris interacting with Keith in this
Hmm.
world, given the death of his brother on the first world and how that was an impetus of so much of his life. Yet here we know Earth One's version of the Augie Chris dynamic. And in a way, honestly, it sounds like it's very similar here
Hmm.
because his dad, upon learning about his death, didn't really care. It was
Yeah.
like, that he was a bad apple. So
Yeah.
it's to go back to what Chris said earlier in an episode about why he did want to go through the door and leave it all behind. It sounds like he it was like, no, 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 your dad was misplaced.
Yeah.
Your Augie should have been your dad was on the wrong earth, not you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I it just that whole idea about who, and in a way I'm glad, because I love myself a mystery, and
Hmm.
to kind of have a little bit of the unknown, because that's what life is in the story.
Yeah.
But because we don't really know, we don't really, or have yet to know fully, who the Chris on that earth was,
Yeah.
and all of the perspectives on him. So I was much more caught up in that as being the
Hmm.
turn. But then again, I mean, vigilantes are in the right. He was clearly threatening.
Yeah.
And they just had to stab him. Just stab it. There was a lot of stabbing in this
There
episode.
was.
There's
Yeah.
just a lot of weird stabbing, stabby, 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 stabby. Because ultimately, to go into the Keith of it all, Keith, who is upset about the loss of his brother and views our Chris as the murderer, which he is.
Hmm.
Well, after vigilantes kill his father, he's like, "Fuck this! I want you dead." And then it's the our 11th Street Kids versus Keith, and so I guess the moment when, what were your thoughts about the moment when okay, this may be premature, but I want to go there because that's where my mind
Yeah.
is
Go ahead.
running
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Hall court, Harcourt.
Oh yeah.
Almost, she makes the decision to basically push Chris ahead,
Hmm.
and then when he's not looking, she's going to kill Keith and like deliver the final blow, because she can't risk him going after Chris.
Yeah.
What did you think about that decision?
I it was set up. It was. I thought it was a very earned moment.
Mhm,
Because it we've had all the build up as far as the walls that she put up throughout the season, and it can and as things progress, they progressively broke down for various reasons as we learn more
mhm,
about
mhm,
what happened. And so her coming over to from Earth One to Earth X was the first, was it made sense that, because yeah, she loved Chris, but she couldn't, but we talked about like the speech last week as far as when they were in the moment and she's like, I'm
mhm,
fucked up and everything. But at the same time, so whenever she pushed him through and when she got the gun from Adrian to finish the job, um, it made sense. And what Jennifer Holland said on the pod made sense. Yeah, this is not an original thought. I mean, I agree with her assessment that she went on the Peacemaker pod
Yeah,
when
yeah,
she was, yeah, when she was, whenever she was going to finish the job, it was her selfless act because yes, we see the moment there when they're leaving Argus in this episode, and they finally do have their moment where both of them are finally at peace, even though the cops were chasing them.
yeah,
But it was a but she knew that by doing this, Chris would never forgive her because of all the dynamics, that because of what our Chris, Earth One Chris,
right.
had with with his brother and losing his brother and the moment and everything. But sometimes the things we do for love, sometimes we have to sacrifice our own happiness for the people that we love. And so in her
Yeah,
mind, it's just the way she had to do it. Yeah,
yeah, she wanted to get rid of the threat,
yeah,
and she's okay with by doing that,
yeah,
like they could never be together.
yeah,
But then the decision is made like, nope, you're gonna
yeah,
go through the portal first.
yep.
Which I don't know, a part of me, and I get it, because I listened to the after show as well, and this isn't a
Yeah,
plug. They are getting a bit better.
yeah, there.
I still think it's a little kiss assy, but whatever. Um, I the decision to like take that away and not have it, but I understand that essentially this whole season has been just setting up the big bad of Keith,
Mhm.
which is is going to lead to a lot of really interesting story
Yeah,
in the future for them
yeah,
to explore, of course. But a part of me also just wishes that would have been the decision, and then
yeah.
seeing how they navigate that in the revelation, because what happens, it's made clear not only to the viewers, but
Mhm.
also to every all of the 11th Street kids as they are pinning down Keith and delivering these final stabby stabs. I can't get over that.
Yeah,
Chris freaks out, and he has a complete panic attack, and it's a complete like, no, I can't let this happen again.
mhm.
And I continue to be the problem for both my dad and my brother.
Yeah,
And so and then he stops it, and ultimately doesn't even know, for all we know at this point, that Harcourt was about to deliver that final blow, regardless of his need for his brother on that earth to stay alive, even if he hates him.
yeah.
But I mean, it is true. Like, come on. Uh, It's also made very clear how dumb Chris is in this
Yeah.
episode. Okay. He's not gonna remember to change the lock, the
Nope.
passcode. He ain't gonna do it.
Yeah, he's not gonna do it. If he can't see a big mural of Adolf and the Mein Kampf all over the place. And speaking of the podcast, I do kind of wish they had kept the mustached guys around. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, it may have made the bit go too long, and I probably, if it had stayed in there, I probably would have the opposite be like, dang it, they could have cut that bit back a bit, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's Chris. Again, but it is perspective because it's just like, sometimes, people sometimes just put either willfully or just out of ignorance or whatever, people put on
well,
blinders to the injustice or bad things happening in front of them, right in front of their faces.
right, especially when you are so focused on these specific relationships that
Hmm.
are right in this world. Like,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
brought in, and immediately you find yourself having these conversations, like a heart to heart with your dad and
hmm,
brother, who
hmm,
for you hasn't been alive on your earth for 25 years or 20 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
and to have that heart attack, and then to have arguably the love of your life also, like, you're sussing out that. So his
Yeah.
blinders, but he was also just tunnel vision.
He was
So much
television.
tunnel vision. And I think that that's also why, because this show arguably is pretty much told through Chris's perspective, like, why, to go back to last week, we didn't notice. Like,
Hmm.
there were things we weren't, nuances and little hints. They also did a very good job of making those hints like microscopic.
Yep. Yep.
but but you were so focused on what Chris was seeing that you really couldn't see anything else. But I do love
Yep.
that whole conversation between Judo Master and Adebayo, and it's just like, yeah, I didn't say he was smart, but he probably just didn't even know. I mean,
Yeah.
and I that scene was good, and at Adebayo, I continue like these conversations, whether it's with Judo Master, Chris, or Vigilante. I just wish there was more.
Yeah.
I'm always
Yeah.
gonna want that, just because, and then this isn't a bad thing necessarily, because I do appreciate there isn't a lot of wasted space or time in this show. Um, but I do raise a question.
Hmm.
Because I don't remember this from the first season. Were all the episodes a half hour in the first season?
They varied like this. They
They
varied.
vary, because
Yeah.
this season is just like, it's just go, go, go. It's very quick.
Yeah.
Every episode I sit down and I start watching, the next thing I know it's done, and I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah. 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 I love one thing you did mention, just to go back to about the blinders and stuff. The other thing, as far as uh, I love how you made that point about it's told through Chris's perspective. Because even whenever whenever it was finally clear as day to him what was going on, he still, instead of telling Harcourt or Thex, whenever it's like, I got to break up with you or whatever, you're not gonna like me. I'm paraphrasing, but he didn't
Mhm.
say it because you're a Nazi. He did it because he was just about to bust through a jailbreak. I mean, it's so he's still at that moment, whenever it was like in his face, it was still one of those things where he was just like,
Oh,
yeah,
and
yeah,
he saved Keith, arguably,
hmm,
even though Keith is probably more of a Nazi than his dad.
oh
I
yeah,
mean,
oh yeah,
like,
yeah,
to go to your point, it's he doesn't, but I do want to point out his total demeanor change the moment Adebayo was being threatened. It would be
yeah,
like, oh
yeah,
no, oh hell no, I will. I cannot
yeah,
let, that is my best friend. A part
yep,
of me was very like, Vigilante, earmuffs.
yep,
Don't hear it, because he might kill Adebayo.
yeah,
Adebayo. um
yeah, yeah.
but
But I did, yeah,
I was just gonna bring up Adrian's line. What, arguably probably my favorite line in this episode. She is technically black.
yes,
Technically
I
black.
did, yeah, yeah,
What do you mean? I
yeah,
just, and you know what, Adrian? You are technically white.
yep.
Technically. We're,
Adrian, oh gosh, yeah. I mean, it's just so. I mean, I just really thoroughly enjoyed this season. In these last few episodes, I think really, it brings it home for why I just have been just really, really enjoying this show. But like lines like that is like, this is where James Gunn, the storyteller, he is a very good storyteller, and he didn't, and actually he did not direct this episode either, but Leah Jones she directed this one, but I mean she did just a tremendous job. I know it was another 33-minute like short episode, but it was well paced, well executed, and the moments that she got out of everyone, and especially like, going back to, with Chris, whenever they were when he had the moment when he was having the flashbacks to his brother and stuff, and the scream that she, that Cena, you know, put out there. I mean, I literally, like, that moment worked for me so on so many levels. I mean, I just, like, while sitting there watching, I just, like, put my hand over my mouth and got like a little tear in my eye because I was just like, I felt it. Because because again, all these little things that we've talked about this evening and of course over the course of the season really did build up to this earned moment. So I'll be interested to see how they go in the final
Yeah.
episode this season. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I don't hate this season. I'm definitely not as high on it as season one. And that is because of this point that I will always raise. And to me, I'm this would have been better binge for me. For me, it would
I'm,
have been,
I'm
and
gonna
last
make. I'm gonna
week
put a
proved
standing
it.
rule: no more bench.
I
No.
like this is just the way it's written. It's so
Mm,
much more like a movie than it is a
mm.
TV show
Okay.
for me. And
I hear you.
just
Yeah.
the pacing and the fact of how everything, like all of the endings pretty much set up the next episode, but we're just
Yeah.
like to me overall, like when all is said and done, and if next year you or when leading up to season 3 and you go and you end up binging season 2, tell me if I'm right. Because
Oh. Well,
I
I don't know.
swear.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if they're. Yeah, I think it's on. I think right now it's uncertain as far as whether or not it's going to be a third season. I know James said that these characters are going to show up, obviously, in other DC studio properties, but as of now, I haven't seen anything about whether or not it's a third season is confirmed or yet or not. But I hope so. But Yeah, but like I said, I mean, I know, speaking of which, I know we did get another tie with Sydney, Lex's little henchman showing
Mhm,
up, and we got the little tie into the yeah, where this will clearly lead into Superman 2. Um
mhm,
but the other thing too, I know, I did want to go back. I know we talked a little bit about Judo Master and Adebayo's conversation, and I just really, you know, liked how they, whenever Judo Master, like, whenever he had a little the moment where he, like, electrocuted all the folks into the pool, and it just, again, the, drop it into moments of like dark humor, where it was like it's the most people have, like, electrocuted ever, but also, the bigger point that I was going to make as far as their conversation was just helping Adebayo, with what threw me for out of left field with that was when Judo Master was giving her relationship advice as far as just how she should handle things with her wife, because they were, and and again, it goes to, like, we've talked so much about, like, for example, Chris seeing the world through his lens, and not necessarily being open to, like, what Harcourt was dealing with. But I think, it was also reflected in that regard with Adebayo and with her wife, and then it was very interesting that it was Judo Master was the one that kind of pointed that out to her. So I like that moment too in their conversation, when they were playing Scrabble.
Scrabble,
Yeah.
scrabble. Um, are we ready for Gen V?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think so. I don't think there's, I mean, anything else. I think we hit the major points other than,
It's a half
last thing
hour
about.
episode. There wasn't a lot left.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that last little point too is just as far as just how people can help each other out. I guess why I was going with bringing up the little tie-ins was with the when Chris did give the case over to Rick Flag, and Judo Master basically, like, after all was said and done, he was just like, yeah, 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 it was this, this is true, and So I did like those moments as well. But yeah, like I said, it was a really strong penultimate, and can't wait to your point about time running time. Next week is an hour, so we won't. So the finale, we'll have a nice good hour for the finale.
All right, that brings us to Gen V season 2, episode 5. The kids are not all right. And let me just clear my voice to prepare for this description. Facility code 5827, use of power strictly prohibited. Facility code 3567, hands must be visible at all times. Facility code 843, any personal item deemed an enhancement to your power set will be confiscated. Facility code 2536, restraint technologies active in all areas. Facility code 9832, all detainees subject to body cavity search at any time. And that is where we start. Because this episode pretty much takes place in Elmira. Um, oh, there's so much to unpack in this episode.
It really
As
is.
like there's a lot, and we're just gonna start with the biggest thing. Um, Cipher and Sister Sage makes an
Yes.
appearance not once but twice in this
Yeah.
episode, at the beginning and at the end, and those two get it on. They get it on right in the front of, because she interrupted him cleaning his father,
Yep.
and they and Sister Sage and the father even make eye contact. So I, I'm gonna get this out of the way. Last week we were talking about Cypher's powers.
Hmm.
I swear, if it is not somehow basically what I'm going to call Bert Godolkin, the father,
Yeah. Hmm.
he he I think he's using his son as a puppet.
Yep.
I think that is made very clear with all the hints.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I am a bit fascinated just because of, in this episode, it took me a while, and it took me all the way to when we get a speech from Sam about
Hmm.
his to his parents. And it's brought up the fact, like, he just asks, why did you give me Gen V?
Yeah.
Like like Gen V caused this, but the reality is Sam was given Gen V in more terms of trying to negate any mental instability, because he was already viewed and showed signs of having a mental disorder and anger management issues.
Hmm.
And it was also a genetic thing because of an uncle. So, which that whole conversation just reminded me about an earlier episode where Marie was talking to her aunt, and it's like, why did my parents even do this? Like,
Yeah.
they like, this wasn't my choice. This was the
Hmm.
product of their choices. So, what we're seeing is a lot of emphasis, especially with polarity, on the parents and the choices the parents made and the ramifications on their children,
Yeah.
who are our main characters. And so then to have the villain of the season basically be a puppet for Godolkin, yeah, that's
Yeah.
just that's so much. It's
Yeah.
so many layers. I just, the subtlety of it. And yeah, a part of me is also like, are they giving too much away too
Hmm.
soon because we're only in the 5th episode? But another part of me is like, there's still so much uncertainty
Yeah.
that it allows me to be like, okay, I can do a little theory spiraling that feels a bit more grounded, but also doesn't feel, so that it doesn't feel like I'm writing my fan fiction and I'll be disappointed if it doesn't go that way, because it might not, but I feel like they're almost backing themselves into a corner with his powers and his abilities, and his limitations,
Yeah.
that I find it hard how they'll justify it, but I do feel like they are swinging for a home run when all is said and done.
Yeah, yeah, because especially, what's the end game? Because whenever he and Sage do have that conversation, we do learn that she's now the CEO of Vault, and
Mhm.
um and but like you said, I mean, he's just got so many things he's pushing, because he's pushing Marie to maximize her powers. And at first, whenever we talked about it before, was like, and even in this episode, it's like, is it to be a check on Homelander, or is it for something else? Is it? I mean,
No.
is it? Well, let me. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not saying that it is. I'm not saying that it is.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
saying, yeah, yeah, no. Because I mean, this episode makes it very clear that I don't think it's to be a check on Homelander. As far as like, you know, if anything, from what we've learned, what we saw at the end of this episode, it's more like, Dad is like controlling him to push her to the extremes to like be able to heal him or something like that, is where I'm thinking.
Exactly. That
Yeah.
that's where the emphasis on the healing abilities.
Mhm.
I mean, and we saw in this episode, she was able to heal Annabeth after Annabeth got her throat completely slit. And we
Yeah.
don't know how long. We don't know how long technically Annabeth was dead.
Right.
It seemed more than a minute.
It
And I
did.
feel, and it's been a while since I've watched season 1, so forgive me if I get anything of this wrong, but there is a scene in the first season where Marie does heal someone,
She
but
does.
it's very brief amount of time of being
Hmm.
dead versus like it's less than a minute.
Yeah.
So and maybe that is why while she's healing Annabeth, you see potential other you saw all of the bloody noses, which
Yeah.
can we not, okay, Stranger Things is coming, okay, I don't need no more bloody noses. I don't. so
Yeah.
so the I do align with the prescribe to the theory. It has to do with healing, and because Sage also mentions you're running out of time.
Hmm.
There's only so much longer this link, this connection between father and son can be held.
Yeah.
um so I think that it may not even be healed so much as there's something that can allow for, maybe it's not healed. Maybe you're thinking
Mm.
about this wrong. That body is dead, right? It's unstable. He wants to fully get into his son's body.
Yeah, that's possible.
That is
Yeah.
very boys, because that is so fucked up. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
to be like, I'm just gonna use your body, but I can't. But like, I'm gonna use my power to basically live in
And
your body,
that's a
and
good point.
until
There's
I
something.
can fully transfer over.
That's a good point, especially something that Jordan said.
Mhm.
When
Yes. Yep.
whenever Cipher went into their mind, and how
Mhm.
they were just sort of like in the back seat. And so that's a very good. Yeah.
No, I was like, ooh, because you brought like that. Jordan has these last 2 episodes been very like strong, soft, like sad boy,
Mm-hmm.
strong boy. But when he pointed out, and this is what leads to like the last 5 minutes of our conversation, like it was terrifying because I could see everything, but I was so helpless.
Hmm.
And And then he points out, but I also knew you were in pain the
Yeah.
entire time. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, so hmm, so his son is basically in the back seat for all these years because Lord knows how long it's been,
Yeah.
and having no control. And yet, the pain that his father is technically in, that is still being felt.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
And that explains why there's no Gen V in his son's body because it's not his powers. But
Mhm.
I think it's yeah, the more we talk about it or more I ramble about it, I think it's more I want to get rid of this body and fully embrace this young body.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think that. Yeah. I think that's. I think you're right. I mean, because I mean, and given whenever Marie was healing Annabeth, but also given that by extension, whatever was going on in that moment, it was impacting the other three kids.
Mhm.
So yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean, she's definitely, I know originally it was like whenever she and Newman first had their conversations, we just thought maybe she was also a head popper like Newman, but clearly she had, with this whole Odessa project, it's definitely deeper into more um, rejuvenation and I won't say yeah, so um
Genetics.
genetic, yeah, eugenics almost. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
exactly. Exactly. I mean, Marie's power is blood.
yeah.
Like she can manipulate, use it, and all of that. And like, go figure, you have a telepath father
Mhm.
who can jump inside other people's bodies and like it's his son that he's utilizing right now, and maybe
Yeah.
there's a reason, a restriction in his abilities that only allows him with genetics. Because part of me is also just like any chance that that guy, that Cipher is Marie's father. Like I'm just putting it out there. Just just
Mm,
just saying. I mean, who knows what they did? Who
yeah.
knows? Who
Yeah, yeah.
knows if like
They
what was
they
injected was somehow connected to his DNA, Godolphin's DNA. I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Because
That's a possibility.
Odessa does sound like almost a different thing than just what was happening to others whose parents like injected them with compound
V, yeah,
V
yeah,
at a later state in life. Like I don't know.
yeah,
We'll see because we
yeah.
also to circle back to polarity a little bit. They to carry on Andre.
Mhm.
Um, we get more moments about like the fact that he's dealing with the grief of his son, but
Yeah,
simultaneously it's the reality like with what Cypher is explained, like I made an experiment and your son couldn't push him beyond the limits.
yeah.
Like and then to circle back to polarity and his own powers, which at the end of the episode we see polarity have one of those moments about losing control with his brain
Yeah.
and just the
I guess it was a
horror
seizure?
of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
of a
yeah.
seizure. Like these abilities that you wanted your son to have, he has or
Mhm,
had, but it was also caused inadvertently the limit.
mhm.
Like, you can only have so much power. So,
Yeah,
I don't know, it's very interesting theme between the parents and the kids that, I wasn't expecting them to explore this season, but
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, speaking of parents and stuff, I just wanted to circle back to Sam real fast.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, 'cause, that whole sequence of things, whenever, because with the dad and the mom, and like for example, he comes home unannounced, and then the parents, we were discussing, about the choices that parents made as far as like with Sam, in Sam's case, we do learn that, we hear a story because I don't know, I am feeling like the parents are shady still, or at least the mom, maybe the dad too. There's something seemed off kilter with that whole sequence that you're telling me that you know, that they talk about the links that they go to try to to get information about him, to find him and all that
Uh-huh.
kind of stuff, but at the same time, I don't know, it's just like it just whenever she was like whenever she was on
Yeah.
the phone, and it just seemed like, okay, I felt like she was reporting back into Vought. I did.
Yeah.
um
No, and so a part of me is like they want you to still have that suspicion because Sam does. He doesn't
yeah,
fully trust it.
yeah.
But also, I'm just gonna shout it out. Somebody watched X2 because that whole sequence was directly taken from X2. And they
Mm,
went and in X2, they went one way with it, where
mm,
yeah, the brother and the parents clearly did not did not care for mutants. And then in this, no, we slowly find out more. It I loved it because and
yeah.
I don't know where to stand on it, but I love that the complexities of the relationship and the
Hmm.
reminders to the audience, like all of it, and we mentioned this previously with Sam specifically, the reminders about season 1 and how
Yeah,
this whole story started
yeah.
specifically with Sam and his brother. Like,
Yep.
oh, they did think because his brother thought he was dead for
Yeah.
so many years.
Hmm.
And now his brother is dead and he's alive, and yet he's also been running around with Homelander. And FYI, if you are, as we have been watching The Boys, the politics of this world is very much in chaos,
Yeah.
and things are changing, power dynamics are changing, the politics
Yep.
of it all. So I don't know if you can really fault the parents for being the way being slightly like, oh my god, my son is alive. Yet he's also still someone, because we don't know
Yeah.
leading up to when Sam, quote unquote, was dead,
Hmm.
what their relationship was like, what they saw. We don't
Yeah.
know pre Compound V what it was
Yeah.
like. What
Yeah.
what kind of, because I really like the shout out to the actress who played Sam's mom. The
Yeah.
swing set scene was done was acted and written so well
Hmm.
that her guilt
Yes.
for not only giving him powers, but also the guilt of her own genetics.
Yep.
That was just so it's like what they're doing, and they're doing it in such a great way. It's like, yeah, this is the surface level complexity, but we're also going to drag in 3 other feet. We're
Yep.
going to drag it, we're going to increase the complexity a few different ways, and
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
it's so good because it's also not in your face. There are a
Exactly.
lot of subtleties going on.
There are subtleties, and also with the dad, and also given Sam's instability. So all throughout the scenes with his dad, as they were talking in there in the bedroom, and whenever he was Because when
Mhm.
it was the way they set the scene up with Sam, like looking at the, starts with a little Homelander sticker, and at all
Yep.
his heights and the brother's heights and stuff. And I was just waiting for that moment for when he was just going to like snap and break his dad's neck. I mean, it was just something. Just if his dad's going to say the wrong thing or whatever, and there was just such tension in in
Right.
in those scenes.
Yeah.
Even when it was just like just an innocuous moment where he was like, "Dad, you may not want to play with that Maeve doll because I
Yeah.
experimented on her."
Yeah.
And but also, whenever you were talking about not sure where, the politics of this world,
Yeah.
and the thing that I thought too was, what if they're secret starlighters?
Yeah, they very well could be, but there's that's a whole other thing because he was against the Starlighters and
Yeah.
was bringing people into custody. But you know, I think that what you just brought up, like that unnervingness around Sam,
Hmm.
I think it's because it's what I like to call the Homelander complex.
Mm.
We saw through season one how strong Sam is.
Yeah.
So he's up there and his instability is up
Hmm.
there. So
Hmm.
a part of us are kind of been like trained to with Homelander who every time like without a doubt he just goes the other way. But
Yeah.
then in thinking about it and comparing the two characters, Homelander, it's always brought up the fact that he was raised in that lab and the
Yeah.
treatment he had from a baby. In this episode, we see where Sam technically comes from.
Hmm.
And so Sam isn't fully Homelander because he did grow up in this house.
Yeah.
He
He
did
did.
grow up with these two parents. He
Yeah.
did have mental issues. That's a genetic defect. It has nothing to do with compound V. It has nothing to do with like being raised in a lab or being raised as this like figure.
Right.
So I think that in a way through this episode with Sam, they have his powers are still there, his instability is still there, but you're kind of shown that he doesn't come from the same place that these other soups do, though.
Right. Yeah.
So that allows him to potentially be redeemed for everything that he's done, what Emma has brought up before to him, like the
Yeah.
redemption. And that's
Yeah.
where they are on path with him. And I'm glad that they're doing it very differently with him and Kate, the
Yes.
path for redemption.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Because I mean, Kate, how the mighty have fallen. Uh,
Poor girl.
Poor girl. Poor Kate. Yeah. I mean, she's how the mighty has fallen. Also, thinking back to our discussion with Peacemaker, as far as just taking advantage of the spoils of the world that you're in, and Kate was, she, she played by the rules. I mean, she was Cypher's like, prior to Cypher, she was with the first Dean, as far as doing helping to control kids with her mind powers and stuff, and now Cypher, using her as well, and then now here she is, Elmira,
Mhm,
um, and just and just and just how it's again just how well this I think this is probably my favorite episode of the season so far, to date. Because just it was just like you said at the beginning, so many levels and so layered. Because whenever she was having to go in Elmira and having to go, being subjected to the strip search, and just the vulnerability and the terror, you just see it. Hats off to the actress who plays Kate, because she just conveyed just all of that.
And the mutilation with her body.
Yeah,
Like,
and
you
that,
even go beyond that, the
yeah,
fact that she pulls a staple out of her head,
yeah,
like, physically,
yeah,
she is as unstable as Sam.
yeah. I mean, she's lost her arm. I mean,
Mhm,
just and they like, to your point about the staple. I mean, they lean into that when she had to take off part of her wig because
mhm.
of the injuries, and it's just these all I think the common thread with all of these kids, they're all broken in some way.
Yes.
And throwing them back into the Elmira really just starts, it's just another part of Cipher experiment with them to, like, because Jordan, Marie reverted back to to the mutilation, and then of course self mutilation, and then and of course Cypher's like, well, you're not going to be careful because we inject you with a drug so you won't coagulate, and Emma retching again.
Oh,
um
but the Emma conversation, what I thought was so interesting about that was she even admitted to Kate,
yeah.
"Now that I feel like I have some control, I realize that I still wanna puke." And
Hmm.
so then it means and that indicates that, oh, this just like with Sam, he blamed Compound V for his mental, breaks, right?
Yeah, right.
She blamed Compound V for her eating disorder and
Hmm.
her insecurities about the way she looks.
Yeah,
And now we see with Marie that her self-mutilation, it's like, again, you don't have to cut yourself.
right.
You're choosing to.
Two,
I
yeah.
I like, and we loved in the first season how they were using these, powers to magnify these other issues that adolescents and people just go through on a regular
Hmm.
basis in everyday life, and
Hmm.
yet this season, they're turning it, and it's like, yeah, but that's not their power.
Right.
That they have, through their surroundings, developed these other issues that are very normal, I hate to say,
Hmm.
and they just have powers on top of it. That's so clever.
It really is. It really, really is.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it and in a way, it makes Cypher be like, "You're kind of right."
Yeah.
You're not wrong, and you're a bit fucked up for the experiment part of it, but I don't know. I feel like Sister Sage is a bit fucked up too, just because she's the
Yeah.
one who goes and gets Annabelle, only for
Yeah.
you to slit her throat so that you can push Marie to save her.
Yeah.
Like, oh my
It is the
god.
voice. Yeah, it is the voice. So we're gonna do some fucked up things to, like, to yeah. But but to your point, it is a teen appropriate. I mean, these are all issues that teenagers sadly have to deal with. I mean, the self-esteem issues, like, that Jordan was feeling because of um, their dad wanting him to, for them to
Gender
only
identity. Mhm.
gender identity, yeah. And then yeah, and all the things that we talked, you already articulated about the other kids. And so um yeah, I mean this show really does a handles, yeah, it does have the gross out moments and stuff, like, because we are in the boys universe, but at the same time it does do a very deft job of tackling these real issues that teenagers are dealing with, and how all, like I said, on top of it, they have these powers, but the powers are, you know, yeah, it's just a MacGuffin to help really explore the deeper things that these kids are dealing with,
Definitely.
and also the prefrontal cortex not being fully formed whenever they came up with this crazy plan to break into the Elmira to begin with. It's like, polarity, where were you? You failed them.
Yeah, I kind of have suppressed that, but yes, that's a very strong point. That and then the whole like, oh, we're breaking free, something's not right, but we're still running, but something's not
Yeah.
right. Why is
Yep.
it so easy? Yeah, it very much, I think in both sequences, I think I did get this sense, especially during the final sequence when they thought they were escaping again. It
Mhm.
did feel like everyone was put to sleep and woke up.
Yeah.
There was a weird haze, I don't know, it just felt
Yeah.
like a dream sequence very much, but the final thing that I wanna say about this episode is just to quote my favorite line, "I found my first vagina here, mom." Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
you gotta you're having an honest conversation, might as well be very honest.
Yep. Brutally, yeah.
Brutally honest.
Yeah.
The kids are certainly not all right. And on
They
that
are not.
note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me on all the socials at Will and Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me there too at SJ Belmont, SJBLMONT. Please follow our crew on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Scene and Nerd on Blue Sky. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and threads at scene_n_nerd. And visit our website, www.sceneandnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.